Hello, welcome to today's video. So today we're going to do a quick demo on AWS Glue, particularly the Glue crawler. So there's this link to the actual project I did on AWS Transcribe, which produced some kind of output, a JSON file in S3 bucket. Within AWS, we can actually create some kind of data pipeline to move the data around the places. So Glue, ELT, is the job. Crawler, what we have is going to go through kind of various locations, particular S3 bucket, to gather information and load to another place. First, I created crawler first. Let's say just create a dummy one to see what the setup is. Let's call it demo. So the crawler goes to various locations. We can see on top if we have yes data source. So previous I created one, we can say add a table, create a DB and table. One thing to note for the Crawler does not create a separate, say, Redshift or MySQL, your standard database. It's live as a data catalog. It creates kind of live above the data source. Most often, S3 bucket. It's like a virtual warehouse makes query, use SQL to query the results and data easier. You can say, we can still go to the default table, database it is, control output. Uh, of course, if the first time you run it, you may not have the data ready. So yes, it's only if you run your crawler on the schedule, regular new data coming, constantly crawl through the information. If we just start again, it's not yet available, then rather than a table, it's more data source. You can see on top, S3 is the top choice, because that's probably the most common. If you have a data lake structure, pretty much that's what crawler will go for. You can use a JDBC for your own stream source. DynamoDB maybe can assist process. There's some additional features such as Delta Lake, Iceberg, but it's a bit newer features to play with. S3 bucket, of course, you got to decide where the bucket is. We can go. For me, the choice is SageMaker. We have a landing transcribe in the transcribe output. If you click in, you can see it's various types of JSON files. So I've select that is a data source. So tell the crawler where to go. Click in, just get rid of that error message. Where to go to grab your data file. Options below about folder. There's a folder structures. There's where you can create a separate pattern, as you can see in the examples, to control which folder or subfolder you want to go through. For us, we'll probably keep it simple. Usually, if you design your folder structure good enough, it should create a very nice schema for the crawler to pick up. If you start as a data source, classifier, it's optional. What it does, if we create, say, a new classifier, probably CSV, it's easy to understand for most of the scenario. That most common delimiter. So that's how you basically aid your crawler to get a data easier format. So if you didn't tell your CSV separate by comma, it's easier for the crawler to set up a schema rather than just try to do its best. If you use strings and captured in quotes, do you have a heading or not? So that's some kind of typical options for CSV. JSON file is common, what we use. I do have another classify built, yes. So we can have a look at the example for the JSON file. So usually print your dollar dot, then your object name, you try to looking for the column. So you add them to tell which column go first, which go next. Particular, we can see the last case, you results table, if we select all the things within the list, then you the substructure, the nested, such as item, transcript. If you want to see the data structure, go check the reference video mentioned previously. In a simple JSON file, I think you may not need a classify, that's why it's optional. Usually it does a good job to pick the things up. So for us, if we do not specify the crawler, ignore the classifier, proceed. I am row, I create a dummy row, we can just click on. It's quite intelligent, help you to set up a default row. We know as you can see, if you go to S3 bucket, usually there's a lot of bucket policies, access controls on it. It's always fiddly. If there's a default role query for you, why not? I have one created for transcribe, so I'm going to continue to use it. For the lake formation security, we'll just not worry about that for the moment. Next, target database. So the crawler previously decide where the data. So choose your data source, then tell what kind of data you're looking at. You classify the data format. Then we'll say, okay, we know what we want. Where do you want to store? So we're going to store the demo DB. Great. What it does, it does not create a physical database. It's more just an overlay, a virtual database. Okay, so you're not going to create it, then you go to Redshift or MySQL. No, you can see there's no option for you to select what kind of database engine you go for. We're going to eventually use Athena, serverless search engine. So I live on that data catalog. Table, let's just give a name demo. I think I have other tables in the database, so just to make it a little bit different. Additional options. So the data catalog, what I save is, I still save your data within S3. So that's why you have a lot more options. But most options is to do with S3 configurations, how the table is considered. Default is usually okay. For us, we use on demand just for the demo, but you can create a timely scheduled or custom, which you can see there's a lot of options. But it's good. There's a lot of information available important to help you to understand what is the configurations you want. So we do not need it. Let's go back to on demand. If we click next, it reveals things, then you can create crawler. From crawler demo is creating. Oh, I think click it too many times. So once a crawler is created, you're gonna run the crawler. Otherwise, because at the moment it's on demand. For the sake of time, let's look at the crawler run transcribe crawler. So because it's small size, so it's quite fast to run. The things you are interested is one, of course, when it's running, and the second is how much DPU is used. I think the DPU stands for data processing units, and that's how crawler is charged based on computation power, how many things you have used. I read message. So in previous case, I created a table. I think that is probably, oh, I probably delete tables and create again. It gave you quick information what happened for each scenario. If you do have a table, then where do you find it? Catalog on the database. The default DB or tables. The option is, well, let's actually click into the view itself. So that's kind of meta information for the tables within the database. As you guess, your regular column name, date type, partition key if you need. For us, number string, that's a common structure. For the JSON, give a structure data type. So you can reading preserve the structure rather than just loading as a very long chunk of string, which you may need to do additional process. Other things we can do the actions, we can click on view data. So the message tell you we're gonna leave the Glue cancel. We're gonna go to the Athena to view. So proceed. We should go to the Athena database. Okay, while it's loading, I have another one open. Let's just run the workflow. Oh, yes. The first thing for Athena is to do a setting. You got to Athena, because it's serverless, you do not have cache in the background as like a database. Does not preserve your results. What actually happen is you got to define, manage a particular S3 bucket to output your query results. So otherwise, I would give a warning message to find the locations. Usually create almost a dummy bucket to hold it as it is. Compact edit. So if I run the query, do about tables, default tables, catalog everything from. So We run the transcribe, and you can see that is the JSON file format. We may not care too much about the output results, but this you can is give you a service layer on top of S3, so you can query your data directly. You do have S3 select; it's give a simple query structure. But if you want more standard SQL interface, Asina give you a more robust and more common usage. You can create additional table, perform your joins, pretty much do what database you need to do without actually creating a database that you need to manage yourself. I think one of the query, yeah, probably get rid of that guy first. Because we have a JSON file, so we can select your file through JSON file path in the JSON to get the specific data you want. There's a whole separate HTML, but that's probably outside the crawler itself. So hopefully you can see with the demo, the overall process for your data within a data lake, crawler goes in to get some structure out of data and populate a schema for you. It's very handy to perform. So compared to the previous case, you got to create your own tables, define schema, column, data type, etc. This is much faster way to do things. If you're not happy about it, you can always change later on to edit the schema to make it more manageable. So yes, go give it a try. Particularly if you follow the previous video on the transcribe, you should produce some kind of output results. You can use that as input for the crawler. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye.